Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let's talk about this Miguel Cotto versus Austin Trout fight. Now, Trout is something like a greater than 2-to-1 underdog. Let me just say, I've looked long and hard for tape of Austin Trout up on the ropes against a guy who knows how to fight inside and can bully him up against the ropes. I haven't found it. Right? There is a distinct possibility that Trout can't fight inside and that Miguel Cotto gets inside and does serious damage, maybe even stops Trout. But I don't see that happening. It might, but I don't see that happening. I actually like the underdog in this fight. I like Austin Trout. I don't believe it's close in the middle of the ring. I believe that Austin Trout methodically outboxes Miguel Cotto in the middle of the ring. Understand there's a height dynamic. Trout's 5'9.5". Cotto's only 5'7". There's also the fact that whereas Cotto is at his best against righties who are unprepared for his left hook, here he's fighting a southpaw. So understand the way it matches up. Right, Austin Trout is accustomed to tucking his chin behind not his left, but his right shoulder. Also, Austin Trout, because he's a southpaw, is going to have his right hand, the one he uses to jab, lined up opposite Cotto's left. In other words, Cotto in the middle of the ring is going to have a hard time getting close enough to Austin Trout to do damage with that left hand, in my opinion. Understand, too, that other than Floyd Mayweather, who Cotto fought in his last fight, and keep in mind, that fight, according to the judges, wasn't close. I know there's a lot of folklore on that fight, but understand that each judge had Floyd Mayweather winning the fight by a margin of 6 rounds. Let's do the math. If Floyd won 8 of the 12 rounds, that margin would only be 4 rounds, right? Floyd would win 8-4. So what all 3 judges are telling you is that Floyd Mayweather won a minimum of 9 rounds in his fight against Miguel Cotto. In any other world, that would be considered lopsided. In this world, because Mayweather is who he is, the top-rated fighter in the game, we view that as a test. Well, understand, Cotto lost that fight by a wide margin. If you look at his other recent opponents, Antonio Margarito, Ricardo Mayorga, neither guy remotely approaches the hand speed and slickness of Austin Trout. Right? Neither guy. So in the middle of the ring, I believe Trout is just going to be too slick for Cotto. I believe Cotto, right, has a problem when he's in the middle of the ring. And it's a boxing match as opposed to a fight, right? I don't want to hear about the Yuri Foreman fight in which Foreman blew out his knee. I will say this. If you go back and look at the fight now, I believe many of you are going to reach the conclusion that Wally Matthews, reached looking at that fight, which was that fight was closer than people realize. So I think Austin Trout can outbox Miguel Cotto. The way I would play this, and I know there's a crowd out there that says there isn't enough money in straddles, but the way I would play this, I don't know how you could make that claim. Here, where Austin Trout is something like a plus 250 underdog, And keep in mind, Miguel Cotto by KO is something like a plus 175. Here, you're getting better than even money on both sides of the play. Let me also say this too. Delvin Rodríguez. I've watched many fights of Delvin's where he's able to muscle the other guy over to the side of the ring, and he throws high volume, right? He holds his head. He's able to even muscle guys like Paul Wolak, right? High volume opponents. Against Austin Trout, Trout's game is so technical. Trout is so hard to hit. Understand, Trout not only has a length game going, he has a vertical game going, where Trout will literally at times just bend his knees, just a hint at being able to drop down. Trout was so technically advanced that Delvin Rodríguez was on his back foot and clueless during their fight. Rodríguez was unable to muscle Trout over to the side of the ring. Understand too that Trout fought Canelo's brother, who's a pretty big puncher. Trout completely out-finessed him in Mexico, winning a unanimous decision. Right? To put it in perspective, Trout literally picked up the championship in that fight. Right? None of the judges had Rigoberto Alvarez winning that fight. If you box Austin Trout, you're going to lose by a wide margin. Also, don't be fooled by the fact that you may not know the name Austin Trout. He's been in the ring behind the scenes with some of the biggest names in the sport. Understand that Austin Trout has sparred with Sergio Martinez. Right? So Trout is not going to be at all intimidated by the moment. I think what happens in this fight is it's a light switch. Right? They're going to start boxing. I believe Trout's going to build up a lead. Then I believe Cotto is going to have to get desperate. He's going to have to start to try to dive inside. Right? If he doesn't get Trout cornered, if he doesn't get Trout up on the ropes, like Guerrero got Berto up on the ropes, if he's unable to get Trout's feet parallel to him, as opposed to the way Trout likes it, right? Trout is one of these guys, he has his right foot way in front of his left foot. He only gives you a side profile. As long as Trout's in that position, I don't think there's much Cotto can do, because, as longtime viewers know, I consider Cotto to be a one-handed fighter. I don't think he has the straight right hand in his case, since Cotto's a southpaw, to reach Austin Trout. And I think Trout is going to take away his lead left. Keep in mind, his lead left lines up, since Trout is a southpaw himself. It lines up with Trout's defensive shell, his right, which he uses for defense. It would be different if Trout were orthodox. Then Cotto's left lines up with where Trout would be naked. But because they're both southpaws, Cotto's going to have to somehow, from 2.5 inches lower, get that left over Trout's shoulder, right, to hit his head, and Trout tucks his head. Or Cotto's going to have to hit Trout's ribcage, and understand Trout is excellent defensively, so Trout's going to have his bicep in the way. I think Cotto has a very hard time landing that left hand. Let me also point out, you remember when Cotto fought Manny Pacquiao, who also was a southpaw? Cotto had problems landing that left hand in that fight as well. I like the underdog Austin Trout to pull the upset, hedged against Miguel Cotto by KO. The outcome I don't see happening is Cotto winning by decision, as he did, as he has done in other fights. I just don't see Cotto being able to outbox Austin Trout, who in my opinion is very underrated. Let's remember, too, Austin Trout already has a belt. He's not here to pick up Cotto's belt. He already is a champion in his own right. Right? And so, food for thought. Understand it's Trout who has the title. I think Cotto is a warrior who will fight anyone, right? He's fought Pacquiao, he's fought Mayweather. Don't think because Cotto picked Trout as an opponent that Trout is tailor-made for Cotto or is an easy fight. That's just not how Miguel Cotto rolls, right? So Cotto is just looking for the biggest challenge he can get. Austin Trout has a belt. Cotto wants the belt. Cotto is signed on to fight Austin Trout. I think he's made a mistake. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. The bet I like, Trout to win. He's the better than 2-1 underdog. Trout to win, straddled against Cotto by KO. Thanks for watching.